Hey guys, so today I'm gonna react to a video from Mikie Sherrill on Instagram website, where she talks about the whole situation with ICE raids in New Jersey and what she would do if she is elected as the next New Jersey governor to deal with the whole situation of them not showing the face and use a mask to hide identity. So let's check the video out.
You a little bit about what's going on right now. I just had a friend talk to a police officer here who had an interaction with somebody who was wearing a mask, who had no ID and was carrying. And he walked up to him and said, "Look, this is my town. What are you doing here?" And the gentleman said, "I don't have to tell you."
And that's a issue. A lot of things that we have problems with ICE agents is not necessarily going after undocumented immigrants who are committing violent crimes and deporting them. It's the way that ICE agents are treating anybody who doesn't look white in an inhumane way. So even if you're a U.S. citizen, they basically assume you are undocumented, that you're here illegally, and that you couldn't possibly be a U.S. citizen or a legal citizen like a green card or a work visa, and you shouldn't be allowed to be here. That's the assumption already because you're not white. That's in general how they do it. I'm not saying that if you're white, you're gonna be completely protected from ICE agents. Not necessarily true. There have been plenty of white Europeans targeted by ICE agents all the time. Tons of white Brazilians have been targeted by ICE agents as well. So they've been dealing with a lot of ICE raids. And a lot of Brazilians tend to work in jobs like construction with Hispanics workers. So it's common for Brazilians and Hispanics to be targeted all the time during an ICE raid. But the point I'm making is that they specifically are able to target people now based on their race or ethnicity, as your Supreme Court allows them to do so. And they've been very discriminatory about it. If they were just more careful and hey, my name is Sergeant whatever, or my name is John Smith. I work as an ICE agent. I'm just here to ensure that you're here legally, and that's why I'm here. Could you please provide me identification? Here's my identification. Here's my badge number. Here's my identification, name and division or office you're in. Show all the identification to the individual. If you're here legally, please just provide you your U.S. citizenship evidence or something that provides you being here legal. So if they have a real ID, driver's license, things like that, at least that'd be a better approach. But the thing is, regardless, even if someone doesn't have immediate identification of their citizenship status or whatever immigrant status they have, U.S. citizens are not required to provide identification to ICE agents to prove they're U.S. citizens. ICE agents are supposed to be able to prove beforehand that they are going after someone who's undocumented. They're supposed to have evidence. That's how it's supposed to approach. I just given that scenario that what Trump administration could have told them to do and train them to do that would be at least better than the way they're doing it now. Properly, the way it's supposed to be done, they're supposed to do investigation and identify, oh, this is not someone who is here illegally, they're undocumented, let's go after them. And first, they're supposed to focus on violent crime. So people who are undocumented committing violent crime, but they don't. They avoid those because those a lot of times are part of MS-13 and dangerous gangs like that, and they don't want to mess with them. It's just understood because those will fight back and they will hurt a lot of ICE agents, and it is what it is. But in this case, they are being detained, even arresting U.S. citizens, and it's been happening all over the country, and it's a big issue. And not even identify yourself, so people are not scared like who the hell is gonna potentially kidnap you. They don't know if you're ICE agent. The way they're dressed and everything is very unprofessional. It could be undercover ICE agent, but they could at least identify themselves right away. Instead of just grabbing someone putting in a van, it's really unprofessional. When you're a government employee, such as myself, as a state government employee, you gotta learn to be careful with this. I used to work as a wage investigator, and I always identify myself to all the construction workers at the job site, who I am, my name. I show them my investigator badge, explain them my title, what was the purpose I was doing there, things like that. Before I did anything, to get information to find out if the company is exploiting the workers. Obviously, my job was not to go after immigrants. Obviously, it was to make sure that companies are not exploiting them. But still, I just identified myself immediately and explained to them who I was and what was my purpose. And that's what people want from ICE agents. It's not that hard to do. And they're not doing that because now they're empowered by Trump to be complete fascists and racists. And they get away with it at the moment.
And he said, "You're walking around my town and you do have to tell me." And he said, "No, I don't." And so the police officer said, "Well, then I'll take you to jail." And he said, "I'll take you to jail." So he said, "Well, work."
Yeah, ICE agents, one, are not supposed to be detaining and arresting US citizens. That's not their job. And two, if you don't identify yourself and you're going around town trying to go after people with no evidence, yeah, local police officers, especially state police, have the legal authority to stop you and detain you, even arrest you, because you could be doing illegal arrests to a resident of the city or state if it's a state police officer. So yeah, they had that legal authority. Just because you're a federal law enforcement officer, that does not mean you're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. And ICE agents are not allowed to just go after people and arrest them with no evidence, no warrant, and just assume they'll be squeaky clean, nothing was gonna happen to them. That's not how it works. That's not how you're gonna back someone to basically defend themselves from a potential kidnapper. And now you can have ICE agents potentially getting killed in those incidents, which is literally caused by them for not identifying themselves and treating people in a more humane way instead of treating them in very derogatory, discriminatory ways. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, if a cop sees there's something wrong and they notice someone's mistreating someone, like a resident of the city, or as a state police officer noticing that someone's mistreating a resident of the state, they had the legal authority to go and figure out who the hell you are and stop you right there. ICE agents are not invincible. They're not supposed to be touching your citizens or legal citizens, legal immigrants, unless they have a warrant for your arrest due to you maybe not overstaying your tourist visa or not renewing your work visa or your green card. But if you're a U.S. citizen, they're not supposed to be discussing anything with you.
Get out in jail. But here's the thing, it was an ICE agent refusing to show ID, masked. So, as governor, I'm going to make sure that people can't go around masked here in our state. Now, my opponent supports policies.
I agree with Mikie Sherrill. Yeah, it's very simple. If you can just identify yourself properly, remove a mask for a moment, show who you are, identify and explain, show proof that you're ICE agent, you shouldn't be allowed to use a mask and hide your identity. And then be okay with arresting someone potentially, well, it looks more like a kidnapping, and expect everyone to just be okay with that, fine dandy. It's gonna cause a lot of unrest, and eventually, which is what Trump wants, violence between federal law enforcement officers like ICE agents and the public, which then could potentially allow him to initiate the Insurrection Act or martial law, which is what he wants probably the most, and that could stop elections. So that's a whole other issue. Martial law in particular can stop elections, and he would love to do that.
Where people who are here legally can be detained, rolling back rights for American citizens, separating children and parents. I'm going to make sure people here in this state are safe and follow the law.
Yeah, I mean that was simple. She made a good point. All she wants is to make sure the ICE agents are following the law properly. They identify themselves. They're making sure they did the research, the investigation. That they're going after someone who is not here legally, or maybe they overstayed their tourist visa, or overstayed or they didn't renew their green card, or their work permit, work visa, etc. Whatever case may be, something that makes sense. And I think if they just do those things, people had less problems. Remember, ICE was just formed, I think, in late 2000s. I think it was 2008 when ICE agency was formed. So you can't always be abolished. And I am an advocate of abolishing ICE. It's just not working. It's more of a fascist law enforcement agency than anything else, which is being they basically been the lapdogs of President Trump and going after innocent people. But let me know in the comment section what you think about the situation. And if you agree with Mikie Sherrill, and this is just another reason why I think that people should vote for Mikie Sherrill during this early voting period into November 2nd, 2025, because it's just further proof that she's going to fight against Trump's fascist tactics and policies instead of just bending over like how Jack Chiarelli would, because he gave an A rank for the way Trump is handling the whole presidency, which is really bad news already. But let me know what you think in the comment section below about this whole situation, if you agree with me or not, or if you agree or disagree with Mikie Sherrill. If you like this video, like and subscribe. You watch this TikTok, follow us on TikTok, and support us on Patreon. Have a good night, guys.